Don't get mad at me for telling you to tie up your cleats and lace up correctly. I'm on the team. I want you to win. Hey everyone, it's Mike Andes. I'm the founder of Augusta Lawn Care. We have almost 100 locations around North America. And today I'm going to be sharing something I've learned recently, and that is really challenging the belief that I had, and that is a common kind of thing that we say in the entrepreneurial community, and that is, you praise in public and that you should give someone critical feedback in private, or you should criticize in private. And I've believed that for a long time, and for the most time, I actually do follow that logic. But recently, I'm going to tell you kind of what's been going on with my company, and I've started to challenge that belief that it's not always the right thing to necessarily just do backyard criticisms and doing those things in private and then praising people publicly all the time instead. So this is the story. At Augusta Lawn Care, we have what we call Command Center. Command Center does a lot of the office admin, phone calls, emails, etc., and getting customers started, setting up estimates, etc. And so the goal in that is to try to take off the admin time for the franchisee, the owner, so they can focus on growing the business through sales, hiring, and really growing their company, and not taking phone calls and running back to their phone and answering the scam call for the 50th time. We want to take that off their plate so they can focus on growing their business. That's what Command Center is all about. Now, the thing with Command Center, as I've talked about here on the channel before, is that it has to scale logarithmically with the franchisees, because as the franchisees grow in number of locations, we have to obviously scale with that. But furthermore, as the locations join, they're usually doubling or tripling in growth those first few years. The first year they do 150,000. Well, the next year they do 300,000. The next year after they do 600. The next year they did, let's say they did 900,000. That level of growth is on top of the fact that the location number is increasing. And so I've actually, talked to venture capitalists and people that look at companies like mine. They're like, the worst thing you did was start Command Center, because it's not going to scale like software where you can just plug 1,000 people in tomorrow and it'd be fine. We're going to have to limit this year. We're not taking any franchisees until next fall and winter. And when we do, we're going to have to limit it to 50 people. We're going to overbook that very quickly. But it's a matter of we're going to have to cap it at that, not because we won't be able to sell more or because it's not working. It will be a matter of we will not be able to deal with the logarithmic growth that we are having in number of calls, leads, and the amount of work Command Center has. And we can't triple staff at Command Center, because you got to train them. It takes months to train someone effectively at Command Center before they're actually profitable and efficient enough to be on the phone, because we charge the franchisees by the minute. So they have to be efficient. They can't just be thrown into the fire and be figure it out, because they'll make mistakes and they'll be inefficient, and that costs the franchisees money. So it takes a good 6 to 8 weeks to get someone really good and efficient at Command Center. And so, we have this problem that is our growth is going to mostly be stunted by this very unscalable thing, which is hiring really good office people. And the goal is that we take that burden off the franchisees, and so they don't have to do that, because finding office people and housing office people and finding rent for an office space and all the rest of it is an absolute nightmare. I don't want them to deal with it, but by taking that on, we have literally capped our growth rate by a massive amount. And so, this has led to the problem of hiring lots of people, and then in this current labor market where so many people are leaving and we have this great resignation, and now because I'm not just competing with people locally. If I'm trying to hire people virtually, I'm now competing with every other company in the world that's trying to get virtual workers. And that includes the likes of Amazon and Apple and all the rest of it that are willing to immediately pay someone a base pay of $18 or $20 an hour to be virtual and answer the phone. Well, I'm not going to be able to afford that. The franchisees aren't going to be able to afford that. And so we're going to have to pay P for P. They get a percentage of labor revenue they earn for the business, like we always talk about. And they can make $18, $20 plus an hour easily if they're really efficient. But their base is $10, $12 an hour. All of that to say, we've had to hire a lot of people. And we had a lot of our employees leave in January and February right before and as the spring rush started in March. We just had a ton of people leave. Part of it was because we hired a bunch of people in the winter getting ready for spring rush, and we were ready for it. And then all of a sudden spring rush came, and they were used to the workload from the winter, and we had trained them. Everyone was good and solid. We were staffed up. We had actually overhired. We were like, man, this is gonna be this is going to be a breeze. We got a really good team in place. We've trained them all winter. We took massive losses at the franchise level to get ready for the spring rush. We were like ready to go. And then all the people that we trained were so used of that winter type of workload that when spring rush came and all of a sudden there's just thousands of emails and thousands of phone calls coming in and like, I'm not joking when I'm saying thousands of customers ready and like just phone call after phone call. Like it's just like a river of phone calls coming in. They're not ready for it. They were not ready for it. They were trained. They knew what they were doing, but they weren't ready for that level of stress. When you have customers freaking out at you, when you have 10 people in the queue that you're supposed to be answering on the phone, like that craziness, and that can shift from like 30 minutes, there's like nothing happening, to 30 minutes just that later being just completely overwhelmed. And they started leaving. And it was a very stressful time because of the workload, and people started to leave. And not just the new people. It started to become the people that were the most experienced and been with us for a long time and were really good at their job. But the problem is because now it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You get a few people to leave that were potentially just not ready for that workload or couldn't handle that stress. And then that puts more stress on the people that stay, the trainers, the people who've been there a long time. It creating even more stress for them. So then they leave. And when they leave, now we're talking like this is a high level position, this is a training, this is a management position. Now we're trying to find replacements for them, and we're having to pull people out of frontline to be more manager style. Like it became a lot, and we really had to regroup, restructure. It was a whole 9 yards, and I'll talk about that at conference probably next year. But in doing so, you have a lot of new people that you're training up and that are answering the phones, that are on the front lines, that have to interact with customers. And we started to have quality control issues. And part of that is because we can't listen to every single phone call. We can't watch every single action that's being taken because it would be extremely inefficient. We'd have to raise our prices, and we're like literally 40 to 50% cheaper than most calling services compared to like Call Boss or Jill's Office or those other services. Like we're considerably cheaper, and we can only do that if we're efficient. So we can't watch and listen to every single phone call. So this is what we decided to do. I'm like, look, we got to stop doing one-off. Hey, you're doing this wrong. Hey, you can do this better. Like we will never be able to make this work. We have to do this at scale. And to do that, we have to reprimand and criticize people in public. And so what we started doing is we created something called game footage, where we literally listen to phone calls from our frontline command center staff, and we give open criticism to it. We tell them what they did wrong, what they could have done better. They should have said this word. They should have used their phrasing slightly different here. They paused here too long, really critiquing every little part of their phone call. And it scales better. And furthermore, I realized that the culture actually embraced it. At first, we had some pushback. And at first, I had to push it through. And I said, look, I told my managers, I said, look, if anyone says that this is bad and really comes against me giving open criticism and feedback to the team, I want them fired immediately without any question. That was the standard I held because I knew it needed to happen and we had to do it immediately. Otherwise, we'd continue this bleeding. We started literally live. Liz and I would listen to phone calls, and then we would give critical feedback on the performance of the individual. And at first, there was a little like, oh my goodness, like, is this going to be considered bad? Is this even legal? Like, are people going to have their feelings hurt? And I was like, look, if people get their feelings hurt, we're going to immediately let them go. There's no question. They will get fired on the spot. And we had to let go several people. I want to say there was like maybe 5, 6, 7 people that we had to fire and let go of the team just because like they were not going to fit inside the culture of just open dialogue about people's work ethic, open dialogue about people's performance. And it was very nerve-wracking for me. Like, how is this going to go over? This is what's happened. I really believe that when you open up and start talking about things, just opening up lines of communication, you let the organization move at a faster rate because there's no longer silos of like, oh, well, you need to talk to your manager, or you need to wait for a one-on-one, or you need to have an evaluation, or you can talk to your trainer, or like wait for the weekly meeting. Like all of that is out the door when it's like, look, we're going to address issues, and if I see you have a problem, I'm going to help you and fix it. And by the way, there's nothing against you, and I love you, and I want you to do better, and I want you to make more money, and that's why I'm giving you this critical feedback. And when the reason I call it game footage is because I thought about like a professional athletics team, whether it be football or baseball or basketball. They watch the game footage and they go through it, and they're always critiquing what they did. And there's there's no shame when an entire team of football players is in a room and the coach is pointing out a play and telling that so-and-so did this wrong and they should have moved around here. It's like, look, we're a team and the ultimate goal is to get the football and the touchdown and win this thinking game and move the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. Like, that's the goal. And so if we all got to sit here and give feedback to each other and take it when it hurts because it's us that the coach is pointing out that did something wrong, then we have to realize that the common goal of the team is to win. And as long as we're on the same team and believe that everyone on that team has our backs and has the same common interest of winning the game, then we should all be on the same page that if I am a weak link, if I need to improve, if I need to change my performance, I'm willing to watch game footage and I'm willing to critique myself and I'm willing to let others critique my performance in order for the collective whole of the team to do better. And that unlocked my brain to allow myself to okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this publicly. We're going to openly give feedback and criticism because we are a team. And if someone doesn't take that well, it means they are not on the team, because someone on the team is going to realize that we're doing this not because we hate someone or we're trying to pick on somebody or think they do a bad job. It's because we want the team to do better. We want that individual to do better. And I truly believe every high performer wants critical feedback. I embrace critical feedback 10 times more than praise. If anyone has ever talked to me, like a fan or something like that, and they heap praise on me, I deflect pretty quickly. I say thank you or whatever. But it's like, we move on. I don't really care. It's not going to help me a whole lot. But if someone's going to actually give me critical feedback, even if it's potentially not correct and actually wrong, I still will look, diagnose, and think about that 10 times more because it will do me more good. And if we're only going to praise our team and tell them how great they are, and they got 5-star reviews, and you guys are amazing, that's fine. That's good. That'll bring morale up temporarily. But what will bring morale up more in a football team, instead of telling your team how great they did on that play and how great it is winning the Super Bowl, winning games. That's the best way to have culture, is a winning culture. I want a winning culture where everyone wants to win. They're there to win for themselves, for their family, for their success, for their future, for their finances. And they also, by the way, get a bunch of people together in a room that all want to be winners. Guess what happens? The organization, the business will win if everyone on that team is disciplined towards the ultimate goal of winning for the team and for themselves, instead of looking good in front of other people, getting praise and admiration in front of other people. That's fine. That's good. We do prizes. We do giveaways. We give cash prizes when they read certain books or they do certain things, and answer the most phone calls in a day. We do all of those positive reinforcement type things. But I have never, in all my years of business, and they're not too many, I'm relatively young, but in the 10, 15 years of me doing business and all the rest of it, I have always thought that you need to praise people in public and in private do the criticism. Flipping that on a dime has changed the culture, and it's made it to where now anyone should be able to tell anyone else, you did that wrong. And if that person takes them wrong, that's on you. You're creating drama, because at the end of the day, we all have the same goal of winning the game. And if I'm going to tell you to tie up your cleats, because if you don't, we're going to trip. And if you trip, that might lead to a fumble, and that fumble might lead to us losing a game. Don't get mad at me for telling you to tie up your cleats and lace up correctly. I'm on the team. I want you to win. I want you to make more money. I want you to improve. And that's that I think it's working really well. And I'm trying to take that same philosophy towards frontline staff, workers out in the field, like landscaping. It's like, look, we're on the same team. I'm going to give you open critical feedback. I expect the same back towards me for you to be able to tell me when you think I'm doing something wrong or I could do something better. And that common goal of winning is something I'm very passionate about. If you have other questions about hiring and some of the things that I believe in when it comes to hiring, check this video out here. I'll give you some tips on how to find good people that want to win.